I'm Bill Auten of Auten Claims Management.
I'm Chantal Roberts of CMR Consulting, and welcome to the Art of Adjusting podcast.
Today, we're going to talk about life as an insurance adjuster from the perspective of property, auto, liability, or workers' compensation adjusters. Our goal is to bring interesting topics in the world of claims adjusting to people who are working as an adjuster now and to people who are considering a career as a claims adjuster. Hey, Chantal, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? Welcome back.
Thanks. It's been a wild couple of months here.
I know.
We had a family member get injured,
Oh,
my beautiful wife, and I've
oh,
been taking care of her. So she's on the mend, and
good.
things are getting slowly back to normal, and the weather's tuning up here today. I think we're going to hit 70 degrees this weekend for the first time in
Wow.
a while.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
We've been hitting 80 every once in a while, but then we'll immediately go back down to like 32. Then we'll go back up.
it's like that in the spring, you know.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Yeah. But since we're talking about spring, let's start thinking about fall because we are 6 months, basically, give or take a few days from Halloween, which is the best holiday ever.
Top of mind is Halloween right now. Sure, sure.
Right?
We got the daffodils popping up, and
We want the candy corn.
pumpkins aren't even planted yet.
Mm-mm. But we can do, I was thinking, maybe, because I think I'm going to try a surprise on Halloween. We'll see if I can pull it off. But so I was thinking maybe talking about the claims that kind of haunt us and haunt us not in a bad way. So no one's going to be scared. It's not going to be woo. So it'll be maybe something fun.
All right,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, so when we talk about claims that haunt us, they could be scary, right?
They could be. Absolutely.
They
Absolutely.
could be things that just keep you up at night.
Mm. I have a few of those, but those are like more current ones, not
Hmm.
not not ones that I feel that I could like. I don't think I can talk about the current ones. I don't know.
Well, when it comes
Oh,
to scary claims, we've all seen claims where bad things have happened to people. Either they get injured or they lose
mhm.
property in some catastrophic way,
Yes,
and those can strike fear in the hearts of mere mortals, just to see what happens.
yes.
If you look at the videos of just some of the tornadoes that hit in the Midwest and some recently,
Mhm.
and that destruction is just bizarre, and that could definitely inspire some nightmares.
Yeah, I mean, if you recall, what was it about 2 years ago? Maybe a year and a half ago, something like that, where that tornado hit Arkansas, the Little Rock, in fact, and it went
Right.
right by my very first house. I was very shook. I was very shook. And so that is something that sticks with me, even though I didn't handle those claims. I remember going up to Little Rock and driving through my old neighborhood. And it was absolutely horrible just to see how it had been destroyed.
Yeah, the circumstances of a claim can certainly be traumatic to observe and to talk to the people and hear their stories about how it happened, to get the police reports and the fire reports and read what the first responders encountered. That can all weigh heavily on you and probably give you some nightmares. But there's another aspect that gives you the chills, and that's when you are dealing with challenging people,
Mm,
challenging maybe even supervisors within your own company,
mhm,
challenging deadlines,
mhm.
a mountain of work. All those things can be a little scary too.
They
So,
can be. They can be. Um, I can think of one that was a little weird. It's more like Twilight Zone, weird kind of deal. I was taking a recorded statement of a woman, and we're going through all of the brouhaha. She was a German citizen or German national and immigrated over, so she had a thick German accent. And we're just talking. I'm letting her talk, and then she starts talking about this totally separate claim. And I'm like, where did this claim come from? And the fact pattern of the second claim that she started talking about matched perfectly to this fatality that I was also working that had a little suspicious thing in there. It was like a kind of deal where maybe the police did something to protect a senator's kid or whatever. I can't say. I don't know. It was never proven. But I just think that that was a little like do 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 creepy kind of haunting thing. Because I think about that every once in a while. Like, what are the chances that I am talking to one witness that has seen two separate claims? I think that's weird.
It is weird, and it speaks to the effort that we should be making to try and find witnesses. Early on, actually, this happened at Vail training back
Hmm.
mid 90s when I was there. And the instructor was Ron Smith was his name.
Mhm.
And he told a story about a claim that he had handled where it was a fatality. It was, or no, it wasn't a fatality. It was a quadriplegic. The person in the car was T-boned by another car. They pulled out in front of it, and the car hit them,
Mm,
and very catastrophic injury. And there was a lawsuit made against the driver of the car that hit the other car. And tough case because it looked like they pulled out in front of him. And there was an argument that this car was going too fast. And
mm,
that's why it happened. And there was a crest of a hill, and they came over that hill, and there was just not enough time for them to react or for this other car to even see them before they hit the hill. But there was no evidence at the scene that could conclusively say the speed of this car. The instructor said that he had gone to a diner nearby. Um, he just happened to be there meeting somebody, and he was telling them about this accident that happened just outside over the hill. And somebody at the table next to him said, "Oh, I remember that. I
mm.
remember that day because I saw that guy flying past the diner. He had to be doing 90 or 100 miles an hour."
Wow.
And nobody knew this guy. No, but this
Yeah,
guy had, and had been after many years of investigation and litigation
right.
and all this. So he got on the horn to the attorneys. They brought the guy in. He testified as a witness, and they wound up getting some huge multi-million-dollar verdict for this person who was injured so
Yeah.
badly. So,
Yeah. I mean, this is the kind of attention to detail I think that adjusters need to do. I mean, we're kind of putting a soft spin on this by saying, this is claims that have haunted us. But
mhm,
one of the things that this witness did not like that I did was I made her do two recorded statements. Like I wouldn't let her talk about both claims in one statement
right,
because, of course, we know that we have to keep these claims completely separate. And if we intertwine our claim files, then we could allow plaintiffs to get into more than one claim file, right? And that's kind of like the same thing. So often we don't have witnesses and because they don't stick around for the police or whatever. And so as field adjusters, we kind of have to keep our ear to the ground or canvass the neighborhood to see if anybody has seen it. And it might have been just the luck of the draw because that guy was a patron and not a patron at two separate times, like not
right,
a
right.
patron, not a patron, because I'm sure the insurance company would have sent someone to canvass the neighborhood, but that guy may not have been at the diner at that particular time when the diner was being canvassed. And it just occurs to me that someone may not know what canvass means, like a neighborhood canvass.
Right. It's kind of going door to door, knock on doors to see, just introduce yourself and tell them what you're doing and see if they know anything about the incident that may have happened. Car accident, trip and fall, whatever it was.
Mhm. Yeah.
House explosion, I've had those. Uh,
Yeah, I have had those too.
yeah.
Ironically, it was a meth lab.
Oh,
So go figure. Hmm.
no big, no big loss then, huh? The last one I had, sadly, was a suicide.
Mm,
But
mm.
yeah, that was a tough one. But yeah, the haunting claims
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 are going to involve some sort of horrible injury or death.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, something catastrophic, unfortunately, and it is
yeah.
unfortunate that's kind of that way. I mean, there are the unfair ones, like you said, with the high caseloads and because I happen to think about because you were mentioning catastrophes or whatever, and I'm thinking about hurricanes or unreasonable expectations. And I think about, we adjusters happen to have, because we're human, we have a lot of emotions that deal with these claims as well. And I've mentioned this before that when Hurricane Katrina came and hit, I had nightmares for a week about drowning,
Hmm.
about the levees breaking and about drowning. And I never really, I mean, I talk about it here and these sort of things to illustrate that it is okay for an adjuster to feel the emotions that they feel, and they need to get some help with this. Mental health is very important, but it's nothing compared to what those people went through. Yeah, just because I'm having nightmares, I mean, I'm all the way up in Arkansas.
Right.
It's not my house that got destroyed, but there are some times, like you said, that these kind of things kind of haunt us as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And the claims business can be chaotic for sure. And I mean, if you take a look at a chaotic claim, like damage from a tornado that goes through and destroys a town. So pick one house out of that that has been flattened, and all the things that you have to address in your claim with them. The scope of your work on a claim like that is huge.
Oh, yeah.
You have to evaluate the damage to the building, and that's actually the easy part.
Yes.
Then you've got to evaluate the damage to the personal property.
Mhm.
Not so easy. Then you got to address additional living expenses. And then, oh,
The,
what else is there?
there's the
Other
additional
structures,
coverages. There's additional coverages. And
right?
I admit that, and these, I guess maybe we should call this the regret thing instead of claims that have haunted us. Oops. Um, because I know that I never talked about debris removal or the additional increase for construction or something to that effect, law and ordinance. And I knew that it was out there and I would pay it when it would come through and I would see it on the estimate or something to that effect. But it's not anything that I explained to the insured. And I think oftentimes about that, and I've started counseling adjusters in articles and things like when we're explaining coverage, which we have to do according to the Good Faith Claims Handling Practice Act, we should also be explaining these additional coverages that
Mhm.
that the insured has. And I would forget, guys, because I would just read down the deck sheet. I admit it. I would forget this kind of stuff. And I think that's one of the reasons why the insureds don't trust us, but they trust maybe public adjusters or the contractors because those contractors are putting that on there. And then you look at our estimate and you look at the contractors or the public adjusters estimate, and it looks completely different. And so
Mhm.
it looks like we're lowballing, but we're really not. It could seem that it's unfair. We're not trying to be unfair in that particular instance, uh, but that's a way to help people again.
Yeah, so I review a lot of lately a lot of first party stuff as well, and what I see is not any intentional effort to reduce the value of a claim. It's more about um, it's it's more about stress levels. It's more about rushing to get things done within certain time frames.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because on one hand, you're trying to turn things over quickly to make that customer, that insurance customer, happy that their claim was settled quickly.
Hmm.
On the flip side, um, if you miss things, that doesn't help, right?
Hmm.
So there's a fine line between being thorough and being quick.
Yeah.
It's so adjusters should be I should say they should be more thorough, but it really comes with experience.
Yeah, it
You know,
does.
for folks that are just a few years into it or five or less years into it,
Mhm.
these are probably things that you're not seeing. You should be studying those contractors' estimates and the public adjusters' estimates to catch things that you may miss on future estimates or that
Mhm.
you missed on this one. And it's okay. You know, if you missed it, it's okay. It doesn't mean that we can always do a supplement, right?
Yes, yes. And
So
so many people don't know that.
yeah,
But I've just had a thought, so you keep talking for just a second because I
sure.
just had a thought.
All right. So she's going to go retrieve her thought. But it's a stressful job. And when you miss things that are pointed out by a contractor or a public adjuster, it just adds to the stress because now you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't do a good job. They're accusing me of lowballing where I didn't really mean to lowball anybody. All I did was I missed, something of, minimal consequence that should have been in there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I missed
Mm-hmm.
a door in a room, or I missed this or that, or,
Right.
I forgot to add overhead and profit, those simple little things.
Yeah.
And good public adjusters, good contractors can roll with the punches and say, "Oh, look, you missed overhead and profit. Can you
It,
put that in and call it a day?"
right.
Other times you'll see you're trying to screw my customer because you didn't put overhead and profit in there.
Right. Right. Right.
All right, all right, all right. So,
It happens. And you were mentioning, the younger adjusters making these kinds of mistakes and everything, and it does take some time. And that's why I've written The Art of Adjusting.
yes, was that your idea?
Yeah, that was my idea. I was like, oh crap, it's all the way on the other side of the room. I got to go get it so I can be funny. Ah! Because
I
it
have to
doesn't work
renew.
well in radio as
I
I'm
have
like,
to get new copies of both your books because I keep giving them away.
oh,
People love them.
thank you.
Yeah.
I will give you the discount, the best friend discount, friends
All
and family
right.
discount.
Right on.
Um, yeah, but these are the things I guess kind of haunt me and I regret. There was one, and I've talked about it actually. I don't know if I told you, but I have been hired by Bankrate, which is a website to write articles for consumers.
Yeah.
And
Congratulations, by the way.
thank you, thank you. None of the
I did
articles have
see your
been
note on
published.
that.
Yeah, thank you. None of the articles have been published yet, but one of them that I wrote was talking about how claims adjusters are human and how we can feel things, but you as the consumer may never know. And we can't tell you that either because, we kind of have to sing the corporate song, so to speak. And we can't sit there and go, yeah, you're absolutely right. This is really unfair. Or, yeah, you're absolutely right. I totally disagree. I should be able to give you like $5,000 more, but I can't. We can't say that.
Hmm.
Um, and I was talking about in this article about one of the claims that I felt was not necessarily unfair in the aspect of we were giving the insured exactly the amount. I mean, we were in policy limits, exactly the amount that we needed. The unfair aspect was that this happened to be a Lloyd's of London claim, and it happened right before Thanksgiving. And so, I did my report, I did my cash call on that, and it just got stuck in a quagmire over in London. And then in London, because it's a whole different culture over there, I mean, they took 2 weeks off from like Christmas to New Year's. And I ended up not being able to pay this trucker for her truck, total truck. And it was only like $60,000 or something like that. I wasn't able to pay her until February.
Mm.
And in the meantime, her kids didn't have Thanksgiving, didn't have Christmas. She lived in Philadelphia. You know, she started getting kicked out of her house. The electricity had been cut off. It's cold and it's unfair and it does haunt me. And my hands were tied. If I could have written her a check, I would have. But
Yeah.
like I would have written her a personal check, but I couldn't do that either. And it's like it totally tugs at your heartstrings. It's not like just because we're human. And I know I'm preaching to the choir because mostly adjusters are listening to this podcast, but yeah, it,
Well,
it,
another
it,
thing,
it
another type of claim that haunts, I would say haunts me, but bugs me just because I feel like um, it could have gone better is are cases where the limits are low. And
mm-hmm.
you don't see it a lot with larger carriers. They're usually writing the limits, on homeowners, you're going to see the replacement costs. You're going to see, adequate insurance on the home.
Mm-hmm.
You may or may not on the liability side of it, but when it comes to auto liability or first party property claims, I see over my career, I've seen a lot of claims that were made on policies with inadequate limits.
Yes.
A house burns down that's 2,500 square feet and they had $75,000 on it. It was an
Yes.
old farmhouse. The farmer didn't want to pay more than he needed to for insurance, so he paid the minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And here they have, a three or $400,000 loss, and they've got 7,500, $75,000 to pay it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree because my husband works for some admitted carriers that deal with pretty low limits, and I just jump up and yell and scream. Doesn't matter that I'm doing it, but they'll do things like additional living expense, $5,000. And I'm like,
Mhm.
what, and
What's that
it's a
going to get
total
you?
loss. It's a total
Yeah.
loss. Yeah. And it's like, that is crazy. Or the ALE will be cut off within 7 days of them cutting a check. I'm like, that's ridiculous. How are we gonna? I just, and you sit there and you go, well, that's an agent problem. Well, maybe,
It's an
but
education issue
it
for
is.
one.
It isn't. It's not the agent's problem. It is an education problem, and it is like you said, these farmers wanting and not necessarily farmers. I'm not saying farmers, but there are people who just go by price and it has never been explained. Okay, you are going to pay, $1,000 a year for higher premiums, or you're going to pay $300,000 because the most I can give you is 75,000, and you've
Right.
got a $375,000 house.
Right.
Which one do you want? Um,
Limits issues often arise on auto claims on the liability
yeah.
side because a
Yeah.
lot of carriers will sell you a policy with minimum statutory limits. And
Hmm.
those limits in New York, $25,000 for a bodily injury claim.
Solo.
Yeah.
I, and I tell my students, I'm like, all of y'all who have $1,000 in med pay, up it because $1,000 is like an ambulance ride.
Not
You know,
even, not even. The last bill I
right.
saw for an ambulance was $1,900.
Well,
So,
there you go. I mean, seriously, it's crazy, so at least get 5,000
right.
at least. And this is the whole reason why Mr. Roberts gets mad at me, but I cannot get rid of my liability or my umbrella policy. I'm like,
Hmm.
but I can't. And I would raise my limits on umbrella if I could, but the carrier says, "Oh, that's the biggest that we go." And I'm like, "Seriously? It's okay, fine." Mm.
Well, on homeowners, we see low liability limits. Also, I've seen as low as 100,000
Hmm.
liability,
Hmm.
300,000 liability. I mean, we've seen catastrophic injuries and deaths, horrible claims with limits like that.
Yeah.
What are
Yeah.
you
And
gonna do? Write the
yeah.
check.
It's like, yeah, exactly. What are you
So,
going to do?
yeah.
So you know what? This is kind of depressing. Let's go to a funny one, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
I just feel like, okay, so let's go to a funny one. So I'm never going to tell it right. I'm going to, because Mr. Roberts says it funnier. But he talks about this claim that he had where there was a church. It was like a spiritualist kind of church, and it burned to the ground. The preacher claimed that he had precognizant, like he could see into the future, powers. And so Aaron, while doing the recorded statement, asked the preacher if he saw the fire coming. And the preacher did not think that was very funny. I did. I think that's funny,
It's a
but
good
I
question.
mean, I'm just saying, why didn't you do something about it if you saw it coming? Um, well, apparently the preacher thought Mr. Roberts was making fun of him,
Oh,
which knowing Mr. Roberts, he probably was. But there you go. Um, so
funny claim. Claims are not that funny. It's hard to conjure up in my memory anything terribly hilarious about claims.
well, then I've got another one.
All right.
I mean, I have some cray cray people now. I'm okay. So this is another truck driver, not the same truck driver, but this truck driver woke up in the middle of the Nevada desert and he had
Woke up, like, what did he stop and sleep in his cab or
yeah. It was a sleeper
okay.
cab, and woke up in the middle of the desert. And of course, the engine all had sand in it, and all the gas tank had sand in it, and all this kind of stuff. And he had to get it towed back. And we're taking a record, or I'm taking the recorded statement, and I say, okay, so like, tell me what happened. And he said, okay, look, I went to sleep in the cab and all of a sudden I get paralyzed. I'm asleep, and then I get paralyzed. And these aliens, they break into my truck and they take it for a joyride, but they can't, of course, drive an 18-wheeler, and they end up basically. They didn't crash, but they ended up like getting stuck in the sand and everything out in the
Right.
middle of the Nevada desert. And this is what happened. And I'm like, dude, oh,
I hate when that happens.
I do too. Okay, I hate it when that happens. But I'm like, dude, you're not talking about like the illegal aliens. You're talking about extraterrestrial. He goes, yeah. And I'm like, can you describe them? Because now I'm fascinated and I've got the recorder going. So they were green men, big eyes, long limbs, bald, no clothing, which is weird. I mean, you would think that they, be an advanced civilization, having flown here, would have clothing, but maybe they don't care. I mean, maybe that's not part of their culture or whatever. Anyway, beside the point, I'm like,
Maybe they
okay,
feel good in their own skin.
yeah, maybe they do. Maybe they're nudist aliens. I
Could
have
be.
no idea.
But
Who knows? Maybe they're like from the military and they don't want to be like hiding guns or anything. And that's why you got to go naked. I have no idea. Anyway, it's not for me to say. I've never met them. Anyway, so I go, oh, okay. I mean, it's covered. There's like literally no,
it's covered. Whoa.
yeah, it's
What's
covered.
covered?
Getting sand all up
Theft?
in your engine and stuff.
Oh, is that covered?
Well, yeah, think about it. Even from an auto point of view, that's not excluded. That is
It'd be
not
under
an,
comprehensive.
yeah, there's really no exclusions.
But comprehensive has a list of perils, doesn't it?
I mean,
Like fire,
no.
theft, flood. I thought it had a list of named
Isn't that
perils.
isn't that collision?
No, collision is your impact with an object or another
Anyway, it
vehicle.
doesn't matter. I mean, this is a different
Hey, we're
policy. I
we're
mean,
talking about
it
naked
was
aliens now, so the wheels are off the truck right now.
regardless, there was coverage. I mean, there basically was no exclusions on this policy, right? And so we're I just keep coming back to, I mean, the guy's coming and every time he calls, can you tell me just again what happened? And every time he'd be like, da, da, da. And come to find out that he had taken Ambien
Oh,
because he couldn't sleep because he has a
got
hard
it.
time sleeping and I'm like, he probably slept, drove. Is that, I don't know if that's a thing, slept,
It could be.
drive.
Could be.
Anyway, I'm sure that's what happened. And
I'm sure.
he got real upset. I mean, like real upset that this is what I'm saying. And I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter. It's still covered. Like, tell me what happened. It's still covered. I don't care. If you slept, drove your car out into the Nevada, or your truck, your 18-wheeler out into the Nevada desert, there's no exclusion for that. Everything is covered except what's excluded. And there's no exclusion in this particular policy. Lloyd's policy, of course. And he got real upset. And so upset that Mrs. Insured called me. And she says, if my husband says that he got abducted by aliens and they're starting to drive his semi-tractor trailer truck, then that is what happened. Okay. And I'm like, oh,
That persona comes way too naturally for you.
well, it's because I'm from Arkansas and I'm just getting my Arkansas in. Okay. I'm just like channeling my cousins and everything. You get me?
I
Anyway,
do. I do.
yeah.
Well, there's a lesson learned here that it's better that
Don't sleep drive in Nevada.
it's better that you probed and found the truth of the matter than having the aliens probe this guy.
Ding ding, like boom boom. We need to have Nick put the drum roll in right there.
I know.
Yeah.
He's good at that.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. So yeah, that is like my one funny claim. The alien one.
Yeah, the funny that's pretty funny. All right,
Mm.
I'll give you that. I've not had any well, I did have a woman who claimed that aliens were living in her attic for a period of time.
Okay, so I'm going to say this. I mean, you know about the whole lizard men theory in like our government and everything. So maybe aliens were living in her attic.
It
I'm,
could be.
I'm just saying.
It had nothing to do with the
Could,
cause of loss. It was just in different conversations.
oh, so it wasn't like the aliens are taking the form of raccoons that are
No, no,
damaging
no.
her.
It
Oh,
was she had a roof leak and
the aliens did it.
we no, this was just in part of this is a woman that would argue everything to
Uh,
and but we would spend hours with her because she just would ramble on. And I say we because she had a public adjuster.
oh, bless them.
And
Okay.
it was and this public adjuster we've met at the loss several times, but the one time we went outside and he just shook his head and he goes, this is not a customer that I want.
Oh,
I said,
oh,
well,
that's
you got him.
terrible.
Now you
Yeah.
got him. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's terrible.
yeah,
Uh, yeah. I think it would be funnier if the aliens would have done it.
it
Done the
would have been. I didn't, I guess I could have changed the story for the humor
Yeah,
aspect.
like I mean, how are we gonna know? No, but this is the aliens driving the story. He stuck to this to the very end. And in fact, his wife was saying that how dare we make fun of him? You know, if the cops didn't want to take the police report, and because he was saying aliens drove the truck off, and we're like. You
There
damn
have been
cops, what do you do about that? I don't know.
there have been times where I've encountered people that, were definitely not maybe fully mentally there.
Mm,
Maybe they had mental issues, maybe they had substance abuse
yeah.
and they were on display. But I've never seen a naked alien. I've never seen a naked policyholder.
Well, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
So things are going good. It's only been
Yeah.
30 years though, so who knows.
Well, one of the other things that I had talked about in my article was the things that happen to adjusters too. And this is not really anything that haunts me. I very rarely think about it, but I think at least every one of us has received a death threat at any given point in time. Yeah, for something because the
Not me.
emotions, huh?
Not me.
Oh, well, just you
I know
wait.
how to handle my claim. No, that's
Just
that's
you wait,
just you
Bill.
wait. Maybe I'll get one on this podcast. Um,
But
Yeah,
no.
no, so that's actually a really important point is safety for adjusters.
Mm-hmm.
And when I talk to younger, newer adjusters, I always kind of warn them they got to have their head on a swivel when they're out and about, when they're in a house or a building with somebody.
Hmm.
If it's just you two, if you feel iffy about something, just get out, and the best self-defense weapon that you have are probably your feet. Just run in the other
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know some when it comes to self-defense, and I know some adjusters are proponents of carrying weapons with them. Uh, I that's whatever the laws are where you live. If
Right.
that's allowed, use your judgment. You may be in violation of company guidelines if you do something like that.
Exactly.
So, and but it can be a dangerous job if you're going into the wrong places. And we all have heard stories about adjusters getting hurt on the
Hmm.
job or uh, killed.
Just
We've
about
had
just about a year and a half ago, there was an agent who was killed by a policyholder, and it was because the policyholder wasn't able to get into the claims office. The claims office was locked, and,
mm,
and so the policyholder went over to the agent and shot the agent because they were upset that their claim had been denied. Nancy German, who is one of our six listeners, she tells a story about how her adjusters started taking their ladders up on the roof with them
double
because
pull.
because uh, unhappy policyholders would knock them down.
Oh! I thought you were talking about what's called a double pull, where you pull a ladder up, and then you put that ladder on
Oh,
a
yeah.
lower roof to get to a higher roof.
Yeah,
But what
no.
you're talking about is pulling the ladder up so nobody steals it.
Well, not steal it. The policyholder would knock it down so that the adjuster, the field adjuster, the estimator would be trapped up on the roof until they called someone to come and put the ladder back up. So because
Yeah, I've
because
heard
the
stories like
policyholder
that.
is mad about something,
Right,
and
right.
yeah, and that has had to happen before. So there you go.
Confrontations on roof claims seem to be more common than any other claim. And you've got roofers up there with you. I did a podcast. One of the first ones was about videotaping adjusters and
Hmm.
how, these roofers and or public adjusters or even policyholders, they get in your face with a camera and they egg you on to try and start a fight with
Right,
you.
right.
And it's
That
a
is an
little bit
excellent,
underhanded, and
yeah.
so you got to watch out for that because that could give you nightmares, right?
They could, you know what,
Especially if they're
and
going to go put it on YouTube.
right, and you know what, that is an excellent uh, thing an excellent topic for us to talk about sometime, because we can give people terms or phrases to use to de-escalate the situation. And courts have now come down and said it's perfectly legal for someone to film on their property.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. And
you may not like it, but
I have an opinion about it. And my opinion is that if you're an adjuster, you should learn to like that.
yes,
And you
absolutely.
should you should use it to your advantage rather
Absolutely.
than use it or view it as confrontational.
Absolutely. I
And if
totally agree.
if somebody gets in your face with a camera and is upset, take the high road. Be the nicest guy in that video, because that other person it's going to backfire on them. If they're
Yes.
trying to egg you on, they're going to wind up looking like the idiot, not you. So
That,
don't be the
yes.
idiot.
Yes.
Be nice. Educate them.
Hmm.
Ask them questions so that they can, show that you are doing your job to the best of
Yes.
your ability. Show that you are inquisitive and that you're being thorough. Show them what you can do. Be a professional and put the professional's hat on and
Yes.
do your job as best you can. That's my theory about the camera in your face kind of thing.
I totally 100% agree with you. 100%. And I think looking over like all of these claims, or even the ones that we were making fun of, it's really all about the people. and about how adjusters, even though we're stressed and we are human too, and we feel this stress and we feel for people, or we have nightmares for these people, or maybe because of these people, I don't know, but it's really all about people. It's not necessarily about the words that are on these four corners of the page, the policy, so to speak, that contract.
Right, right. And, a seasoned adjuster is less likely to get bugged about that kind of thing than a newer adjuster.
Yeah.
A newer adjuster who maybe doesn't have the whole confidence, like, oh my God, I've seen a homeowner's policy, I've read it, but I don't remember everything. And, the art of adjusting, there you go. Amp up your experience level just by reading those pages.
Yes. Doesn't work well on Spotify though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for the Spotify listeners, she was just holding up her book, The Art of Adjusting
The art of
by
adjusting.
Chantal Roberts, available on Amazon. A younger adjuster, if you're listening and you're worried about that, or you come across a situation where somebody's got a camera in your face, um, don't lose your cool. Just treat it as another adjustment. Do your job. Ask them more questions than they're asking you, and you'll come out on top there. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So I think in 2 weeks, our next one, I'm kind of super excited about this. We're going to have a guest. His name is Chris Bran. And he and Fred Fisher, who we've had on the podcast, did a webinar with the Academy of Insurance, and they talked about the hard and soft market. Now, that doesn't necessarily impact our adjusters or adjusters themselves, but what is like the one question after what does my policy pay for that adjusters get? Why are my premiums so high? And we're always like, you need to go talk to your agent. I don't know. But it's about this cyclical hard and soft market aspect of it. And that's how prices are set and blah, blah, blah. And so we're going to have Chris come on and kind of explain that to us. I'm super excited about it.
cool. Yeah, that'll be a little less claims related and a little more insurance business
Yeah.
overall related.
But
So,
it is tangential though, isn't it? I mean, I think that it is important for adjusters to know and understand, because it's kind of like this thought that when we're in our heyday, being the soft market, everybody's selling insurance policies, and then the insurance companies are hiring, right? Because they've got flush with money. But then when we're in the hard market and prices go up, it's like, oh no, I'm not going to hire. I'm going to do this hiring freeze. And that's when everything gets kind of hard for the adjusters too, because people are dropping their price, dropping their limits, like we were just talking about. And there's all these co-insurance issues, or people are underinsured, and you have to tell someone who has had a catastrophic injury, yes, they only have $25,000 limits. That's it.
mhm.
And it's hard on us. So it is kind of tangential to what we have to do, and understanding that, I think, just makes us better at our jobs.
Yes, yes. If you're getting into the claims business, people will probably point you to some of the designations you can get, like the AIC and the CPCU. But the AINS is one that kind of wraps that whole industry up with a bow to teach you
Mhm.
the how all of the parts work together
Mhm.
in the business. And I would recommend that you start there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, I guess that's it. So we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Take care. Take
Yes.
care
Thank
of,
you. Take care. And
yes,
this was a fun one.
this was a fun one, even though it was haunting.
Yeah, well, naked aliens always makes it fun.
It does, doesn't it? See you later.
Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us on the Art of Adjusting podcast, where we talk about life as an insurance adjuster.
If you enjoyed this podcast or this episode, please give us 5 stars and a review. It does help the algorithm pick us up.
Hit that subscribe button real quick and tell all of your adjuster friends to check this out as well. For independent adjusting services, go to www.auton.claims. And for anyone interested in working as an independent liability adjuster, Go to the Contact Us tab to join our roster.
In the meantime, you can contact me at theartofadjusting.com for consulting and training purposes.